Hey everybody, this is Frank from Bounce Cycle Solutions. Here to do a unboxing and overview of the Makerdreams Evo One 2021. The machine you see before you now is the old one. It's still up on the website, but they are shipping the 2021 machine now. I had the old one, I've got the new one, and it's a massive leap forward. So I wanted to share it because there's very little out there. So I'm going to take you through unboxing. I'm going to have a look at the overview of the mechanics of the machine. We'll do some test cuts, and then I'm going to do a comparison between this machine and the other mill-in-a-box machines that are out there on the market. Bit of housekeeping. I haven't been paid or incentivized by Makerdreams. I'm not a professional reviewer, as you'll see from my editing. If you want to leave a comment, please do so in any way you think I can improve. I'm not sensitive. I'm not going to get upset. Don't just give a thumbs down. Leave a comment. Tell me what I should change for next time, or if you want me to add a follow-up there. So anyway, enjoy. I'm going to put timestamps in there as well, so you can skip to the relevant bits you're interested in. Thank you very much. So here we have the all-new 2021 Evo One Pro from Makerdreams in Italy. Just arrived. Just started to unpack it. Really nicely packed, first impressions. I've had a machine from Makerdreams before. I had the older version of the Evo One. Really great machine, but there have been some significant improvements. So we're going to get into them. Really well packaged. Okay, so yeah, that's a new in-house spindle. They make it themselves. 3 big angular contact bearings, 600 watt. 22,000 RPM. I've also increased the size of these linear rails. They're now 15mm as opposed to 12. Okay, so what can we see in here? E-stop button, some Haribo, lovely. Selection of tools. I've got 2 vices. If you're going to order one of these machines, I recommend you get 2 vices. Just gives you so much more option. With holding large work pieces. I've got a couple of other vices that I use on this machine too, that have got serrated steel gripper jaws, but these do a really good job of, because you know they're aluminium, so they're nice soft jaws. They hold a lot better than you might expect, and they don't mar the workpiece either. So we've got some single flutes. 2 flutes, is that a ball? Yeah, it's a ball and mill. We've got some single flutes, up to 8. This machine will take up to 10mm tools. I must admit, I've never used bigger than 6 in the last one. 5x17, 1.5x6. Nice. Hold down clamps. A logbook. Actually quite handy. Maintenance, any offset calculations, anything like that you need to think about. MDF screw set, that'll be for the wasteboard, which is at the bottom, 4 countersunk screws for the wasteboard. HDMI cable. Selection of collets. This is an ER16 spindle. You actually get a lot, don't you? Power cord, of course. There's a 2-ice and there's a touch probe. Yeah, I think that's it. Excellent. Let's get it set up. One of the big sells for this machine for me is this table. Just looking at it compared to the, I'll have to check, but compared to the previous one, I'm sure this is thicker now. But you've got, well, the M5, I think, M5 bolt holes 25mm apart between centres. So really useful, coming up with all sorts of work holding solutions. You know, you can 3D print fixtures and things just to get them in situ. One of the other big changes with this machine for the 2021 version, I'm just looking where you've got these cap heads. It just reminded me. The previous machine, much like the Bantam tools and I believe the Nomad 3, it was sat on smooth rods, but for this machine now, the bed sat on linear rails, and we've got two beams running across the machine, so it should add quite a bit of stiffness to it. Oh, that was dead scientific, wasn't it? But yeah, but apparently it's a lot stiffer. It feels a lot heavier, but as I say, I'm sure that plate is a lot thicker. So first impressions are really good. And we've also got this drag chain at the back now, which you didn't have on the previous machine. The cable sort of dropped straight back down into here, which is where all the electronics are. So you've got the PSU, you've got the Makerdreams have got their own board for this, and drivers and whatnot, and that's all in there, and it's all really actually easily accessible if you want to have a mooch around, which is great in terms of longevity for the machine. If you had any problems, it'd be quite easy to get at literally any part of it. Whereas there's a video online, somebody stripping down a Bantam tools, and I'm not saying I agree with everything in the video or whether he's being harsh, but it did look like a bit of a nightmare pulling it apart. This is really simple in comparison, and all the better for it. But all really nice looking components on there. All the finish on everything is beautiful. There's no lip there between parts. This spindle and this in-house spindle that they've made, I think that's been tumbled maybe. Really nice finish on it. There's the collet chuck. I don't know what that. It's an ER16, but I'm not too sure how that tightens yet. I'm sure there's a spanner or something in the box that I've overlooked. We'll have a closer look, and of course you can see a ball screw peeping there. Incidentally, the ball screws are really well covered, because by the time you're machining, you're down there, the spindle and everything's actually covering the ball screw up. The other ball screw for the bed runs straight down the middle, so there's nothing dropping on it. And then you've got the X is in the box at the back, so it's all really well sealed. So I found the spanner, says ER16 MS, maybe it's some sort of standard I'm not aware of, but it looks like the actual spanner, it goes through the slits on the collet nut and actually sit in the step on the ER16 collet. Fits nice. Okay, so one thing I like about Makerdreams machines is they actually support the end of the ball screws. Now, it might seem obvious, but a lot of these desktop machines, for a start, they're all running, the majority of them are running lead screws, but most of them never seem to support the end of it, and they just have their lead screws whipping about in a block without a bearing, or even just floating mid-air, and you end up with them, sort of whistling, and but at least got a proper bearing block here. And I'll show you the close-up finish of that bed. Look at that. Focus. Look at it. Absolutely stunning. Just thought I'd look under the hood before we put the machine in its home. Show you what I was talking about with those sort of beams. So you got some flat bar and the linear rails are bolted to, and then you've got two trucks each side and two bearings, and then you've got this brace going across the middle, and the ball screw nuts bolted to there as well. So this is all as opposed to just having smooth rods. So that just looks really so much more substantial. Nice neat wiring down there, but you can see what I mean, how accessible all the parts are underneath this thing. So I've just set up the machine, turned it on, and what an amazing surprise. We have light. I've been using the old machine, which was great, as I say, but it didn't have lights. And that was one thing I thought, I must get some fitted. But look how tastefully done it is. It's lovely. And if you look underneath, we've got these sort of three cutouts with LEDs, so the light's shining on the work, but not in your eyes. How nice. So I've got a load of these offcuts from, let's try and focus, come on, who are we? A load of these offcuts from another job. So I'm just going to do some test cuts on these pieces of aluminium. This is the stock vise. Just faced it off, and then we're going to do some adaptive clearing. So the first one, I'm gonna go shallow with a bigger step over. So I'm gonna go sort of half a mil deep, 3 mil wide. We'll see how that goes, and then we'll go for a deep one or a deeper one. So I think that's really nice quality, the sidewall finish especially for a desktop machine. I mean, it is actually a mirror finish. Absolutely lovely. Okay, so I just wanted to talk through the spec of the Makerdreams and why I chose it over the other mill in a box offerings that are on the market. I'll make the point that my comparisons are on paper only. I haven't used any of these other machines, but just wanted to point out why, as a paying customer, I chose this machine over the others. Now, there are some other features on these other machines that I do actually prefer, or I would like to see on the Makerdreams, but overall, for me, the Makerdreams won out. So I pondered 3 machines before I purchased the Makerdreams, and they were the Carbide 3D Nomad 3, the Bantam Tools CNC milling machine, and the Sheriff DMC 2. So the big one for me with the Makerdreams, first of all, was a work area, which is 365mm by 220 by 120. So that's 14.5 inch by 8.7 by 4.7. The Nomad 3 is quoted at 8 inch by 8 inch by 3 inch, so that's what, 200mm by 200mm by 75. The Bantam Tools is quoted as having a work area of 7 inch by 9 inch by 3.5, that's 177 by 228 by 89mm. And the DMC2 is quoted at 14 inch on the X, 10 on the Y, and 6.5 on the Z. So as you can see, the DMC2 is slightly bigger than the Makerdreams on the Z, for example, not by much, and they both absolutely swallow the Nomad 3 and the Bantam Tools. So you might think, well, I'm never going to use all that work area, I'm never going to machine anything that big, but it is quite handy to have, because as you can see here, I've got 4 vices set up, so you could have several parts going within one program. So if you're doing a little production line, maybe you're making, I don't know, key rings or whatever, anything like that, you can have it so you, within one program, you're doing the top side of 2 parts, and then you're sticking it in the soft jaw vices on the right hand side for the second half. And because there's 25mm between centres, between each of those bolt holes, it's really easy within your cam, say within Fusion, to be able to set each part at the right point without actually probing each part individually. Without, you know, I don't think there's functionality within the Makerdreams software to have multiple work offsets, but even if there was, I don't think I would need it. because you've got this this table with all the bolt holes in. So on some of the other machines, like for example the Bantam tools, you can buy a fixturing pallet that's drilled similarly, but when you're removing the bed, as you are doing with that, rather than it actually being the bed, there's always a chance of introducing more error, parts not being parallel. It can be challenging enough over a big part anyway. Next, if we want to talk spindle power, so the Nomad 3 is 130 watts, maximum speed is 24,000 RPM. Quoted speed range is between 9 and 24,000. Bantam tools are quoted between 10 and 28,000 RPM with a 250 watt motor, and actual output, presumably at the tool, is a quarter horsepower. Both the Bantam tools and the Carbide 3D Nomad 3 are using pulleys, effectively gearing up, so I'm not too sure how much torque there's going to be low end. The DMC2 definitely has the most powerful spindle, 2.2 kilowatt, 3 horsepower, 24,000 RPM with an ER20 collet. I don't know how slow it can run. I can't seem to find it on the website. I know some of the water-cooled spindles don't like running very slowly. You know, I've read the overheat, but yeah, very impressive. Don't know if it's overkill or not. Sheriff is saying that the DMC2 weighs approximately 180 pounds, so it's definitely heavier than the other three machines we're talking about. So whether it can cope with that sort of power and make use of it, I don't know. The DMC2 is the only one with a water-cooled spindle. So on paper, they're usually quieter. I will say for the Makerdreams though, the new spindle is very quiet, much quieter than the Chinese one that they used on the previous machine. 600 watts for the Makerdreams. I've run it as low as 5,000 RPM, so I'm going to have a go at 303 stainless as well on it. But it's worth noting that Makerdreams are saying it's only rated to 22,000 RPM intermittently. For continual use, 18,000 tops. That said, I tend to stick between 12 and 15,000 with a 6mm cutter. I know people talk about there's no upper limit when you're cutting aluminium, but I find really keeping the chip load high gets a much better finish, and it sounds much nicer and a much more settled cut. One figure you'll hear quite a lot from people talking about machining aluminium, they'll talk about using 1 thou per tooth chip load. I tend to find with the single flutes from Datron, it's more like 0.8 to even 0.15 of a mil. Gets a real nice finish, real consistent cut, keeping the pressure on. Running down a thou per tooth, so 0.254, it just seems to rub and you end up recutting. So in terms of mechanics of the machine, the only two that run ball screws are the Makerdreams and the DMC2. The others are running lead screws, which would not be my preference. Ball screws, as we know, offer less resistance, and although, for example, Bantam tools are quoting rapid speeds of up to 250 inch, I'm really not sure how confident I'd be long term over the machine not stalling and the lead screw not binding up. Throw a bit of swarf on there. If you're only running NEMA 17 and NEMA 23s, I think it'd be quite easy to do. And at the end of the day, I want to be able to turn my back, and I don't want to have to stare at it and babysit the machine. The rapids on the Makerdreams quoted as 8 meters a minute on the X and Y and 4 on the Z. I've never run it past 3.5 meters on all axes, and that was enough for me. Scary enough. And the DMC2 is quoting up to 9 meters. I don't know if that's on the Z where you're carrying more weight, it just says up to 9 meters. So when it comes to probing the work, I think Bantam Tools is a clear winner here, or it seems to be. There are set probing routines for the work, but also fixtures as well, provided all of the above are made of conductive materials. Carbide 3D uses the Bit Zero V2, which is essentially a touch plate with a bore in the corner, and they have a probing routine that allows you to easily find the corner of your stock. The Makerdreams and the DMC2 are both using a straight touch plate, so you're getting the Z height off the touch plate, which is, it's actually really repeatable. But in terms of probing the X and Y of your stock, you're sticking a piece of dowel in the collet, probing the stock, sliding a piece of paper between it, sliding it back and forwards, zeroing the X and Y, and then you're probing the Z once you put your actual tool in. Obviously this is going to take up more time, be a bit more fiddly, but overall I decided it wasn't as big a deal, and I suspect the material removal rate on the Makerdreams and the DMC2 are going to be way higher than the material removal rate on the Nomad 3 or the Bantam tools. So in short, I figured any time lost through the initial setup of the stock will be easily regained and then some with the faster machining times. The Makerdreams has 3 macro buttons in the software, however, and I do think it'd probably be quite easy to implement something like the bit zero. Create your own macro, which is a little sub program just for the probing. Something I'm going to have a go at myself. You could probably even machine the touch plate on the Makerdreams. In terms of overall specification, the DMC2 is really high. It's the most expensive machine, but also there's a lot crammed into there. So there's things like it's quoted as closed loop. I don't know if that's closed loop sort of hybrid steppers, or if you've got feedback from servos. I don't know whether that translates into it'll just fault out if it lags behind, if you stall the cut or the spindle, or if it'll issue corrections before stalling out. But it's got coolant, it's got a ham wheel, so it all sounds really great. Coolant, however, I mean, even for cutting aluminium, I know a lot of people talk about chip welding, but I've never had that problem with a single flute, so I don't really care about the coolant. It's just extra mess as far as I'm concerned for me. I find that you can cut aluminium really reliably with single flute cutters, which also seem to give me the best material removal rate on desktop machines. I just can't clog one. It's just not a problem. The exception was when you slot in, which you don't do an awful lot, or perhaps deep pocketing. But even so, I modelled a 3D printed chip fan, and that did a good job of blowing the chips away. So I don't need the hassle of coolant. So one thing that made me slightly hesitant about the DMC2, however, so I didn't back the Kickstarter and I didn't pre-order a machine when they went on the website, was the linear rail arrangement. So on the Makerdreams, for example, the linear rails are sat in a slot that's been machined flat. Here you can see they're bolted straight to this square steel tubing, which has either been painted or powder coated perhaps, and I just didn't see how that could be square. And also, because the linear rails on the Makerdreams are sat in a slot, they're going to stay where they're bolted to. Whereas I was wondering, you have a crash on this machine, on the DMC2, is it going to push these linear rails out of alignment? So you're going to have to then start trying to square everything off again. I don't know this to be fact, but there may very well be something I'm missing. So I wouldn't necessarily let it put you off, but it's a question I would want to know the answer to before I handed over my card details. Now, it's fair to say I was actually hesitant about the Evo One before I purchased the original machine, which is the one you can see here, before I got the latest Evo One Pro 2021, and there just didn't seem to be a lot of social media going on for Makerdreams. You could see from the pictures that the machine had obviously evolved several times. There's been quite a number of iterations, different spindles, and so on and so forth, which gives you confidence, but there's no sort of active community. There is a Facebook group, but there's only a handful of members in there. Whereas if you look at Carbide 3D, for example, much more going on there. They have a very active community. They have their own software. They have Winston Moy making great content and projects and showing what the machines are capable of. And as you can see just to the right of the bed here as well, it's got a tool probe. So that could still be a really good option for some people. Maybe you're working in softer materials, foam, woods, etc. You don't necessarily want you're not too concerned about the power. It could still be a good option. but I thought overall, personally for me, I kept coming back to the Makerdreams because of the ball screws, because of the higher material removal rate with materials like aluminium, and of course the work area that I've previously mentioned. Incidentally, the support I've received from Makerdreams has been fantastic. I've not had any issues really. Had an issue with the touch plate not working, but that actually turned out to be my computer. It was nothing to do with the actual machine. But the response was super quick nevertheless, and we got to the bottom of it. Very friendly to deal with as well. So I'm going to guess, I think it's a reasonable assumption that I've put well in excess of 300 hours on the latest Makerdreams now. It hasn't missed a beat. It's been really good. It's capable of some really fine work, as you can see here. This is a key ring I made for my father-in-law's favourite football team. But it can make some really accurate work, some beautiful parts with an excellent finish, and I can't fault it. I do have a soft spot for the Nomad 3, for example. I do love the probing routine of the Bantam tools, but overall for me this just felt like the best all-rounder, and I have no hesitation in recommending it. I will buy it again. I doubt anybody will be disappointed with the build quality. The software is easy to use if you're a first timer. Top rate. Makerdreams also make large-scale industrial machines to order, so that sort of background gives you confidence in what you're buying into. So I hope this video was useful. Hit me up in the comments if you think there's any way I can improve, or if there's anything else you'd like to know about the machine. Thank you very much. Till the next time.